Hey guys, thanks a million for tuning in this week. We are being joined by Kylie Davis. Kylie is a leading commentator and speaker on Proptech and innovation in real estate in Australia. She's the founder of her own startup, Real Content, and co-founder of content marketing automation, Proptech Home Prezzo. Kylie is an MBA from University NSW and 25-year career across media and big data, holding senior editorial and marketing roles at Fairfax, News Corp, and CoreLogic. Kylie is an advisor on boards including Cribs, Property Investment Professionals Australia, and consults a range of technology companies including OpenAgent and Dynamic Methods. Kylie is a finalist in the Thought Leadership category 2009 REB Women in Real Estate and is the host of the Proptech Podcast. Kylie, thanks very much for joining. I know there's a bit of a time difference between the pair of us, but let's jump in. How are you keeping today?
I'm very well, thank you. Yep, I'm really good. Really good day.
Great. So we're going to talk all things PropTech, and we're going to be around 20-30 minutes. Kylie, if you want to jump in and tell the guys some lessons we could learn in Ireland from embracing technology and what you've seen in Australia.
Well, look, I think the thing to remember about embracing technology is no one wants to do it. Let's be really honest about it. It's a kind of a default position to want to sit back and watch and see what works. And what we've seen in Australia is that there's always sort of 10 to 15% of the market that will be early adopters or early innovators, and that will understand that they need to embrace stuff. And then there's that big lump in the middle of people who are kind of, I think I'll sit back and wait and see what happens. And then there's the laggards at the end. And it's a mistake to think as an innovator, if you're really into technology, that just because people won't get into it as quickly as you want them to, that they're necessarily a complete laggard at the end. Most people are just sort of sitting in that lump in the middle, and they need to have it kind of either broken down for them or explained to them, or they need their fear taken away from what's about to happen. So what we've seen during COVID over here in Australia is that the conversation around PropTech has been going probably for about the last, well, our portals are sort of 16, 17 years old now, but the true tech conversation has been going on for about 6-7 years, and most intensely and growing in sort of both enthusiasm and velocity over the last 3 years. And so the technology industry has been dealing with a bunch of agents who've been going, yeah, we know we need to do it. And some of them have been doing some of it, quite well. But what happened in COVID was suddenly everyone went, oh God, we should have embraced all that change, back when you told us to. And what do we do? How do we do it? Because in the Australian market, we had open for inspections, or inspections completely closed down. We were allowed to do private inspections one-on-one for a short period, but then they actually all got closed down. The state or the country has been pretty much locked down for about a period of 8 weeks, and we're only just starting to come out of that now. But we were able to transact during that period. So if you could transact digitally, you could keep stuff happening.
Great. So similar in Ireland, there was, if you had it digitally set up, there was a lot of offers going on online, e-signatures coming through. You touched on a point there about precautions. What kind of precautions are agents making in Australia at the moment?
Precautions around, let's say,
viewings or, home showings.
Yeah, so what we saw during COVID was a couple of things. First of all, the first wave was, right, everyone hand sanitizer at the ready and limiting the number of people through. That was the first thing. Then they got wound back even more tightly, and you weren't allowed to have anyone in, but the agent could go and do a virtual inspection with in some states with a camera and while the owner was out of the property. But then they got completely locked down. So we saw the tech in that space, agents who had organised really good photography, because Australian property marketing is a very high calibre, like really lovely photography is the norm. We saw the rise of some of the automated property adjustment. So there's a really great Australian PropTech called boxbrownie.com who do photo adjustments. So they're able to, turn the weather from, you have a beautiful photo of the front of the house, but the day's a bit grey. They can make the sky blue. They can, now they can't remove things that would be misrepresenting in the photo, but they can certainly make the lighting better. They can, they can really make that photography look great. They can also do virtual staging. So they can strip out all the rubbish on the photo, rubbish in the house, all the clutter, and really strip a property back as well. So we saw that they became extraordinarily busy. And also 360 tours or, virtual reality tours became extraordinarily popular. And there was a lot of talk when it sort of all came down that, well, I don't know why I need to do a virtual tour. Who's ever going to do that from agents? But what we found during COVID is that, I don't know how it works in Ireland, but in Australia, open for inspections typically happen over a weekend or maybe one night or afternoon during a week, and they'll be open for a set time, and then sort of everyone goes to the property during that period. That's standard practice in Australia. But most buyers don't necessarily want to do that. And most buyers will be trying to cross properties off their short list, come up with a short list, and trying to run around a suburb and visit the number of properties that they need to visit in order to come up with that short list is really quite stressful and exhausting. And so what we found during COVID was that buyers actually were going, this isn't so bad, I can sit with my partner on the couch with a coffee after we've done our virtual work for the day, or a wine, and we can actually now go through some of those properties and work out which ones we're really serious about. So what we saw with video and virtual tours was that buyers loved it because they're probably not going to be going to as many open for inspections post-COVID, but they will have seen more properties, if that makes sense. Yeah. And they will have a stronger idea as to what ones they want to see. And from the agent side, there's no loss of control over that. In fact, there's more control because the data that you get from the viewings of those digital files is extraordinarily valuable if you know how to manage and what to do with it. You can get a lot more information out of that than some agent sitting at the door with a clipboard going, can I take your name and phone number?
That's really interesting to hear that perspective of, people having time to sit down and readdress the roof over their head, when they're usually working a 12-hour shift during the day. They've got that bit of time to sit, right, do we want more outdoor space? Do we want more, do we want a front lawn for the kids to play on? It's really interesting to see and to talk to agents who are in their own house as opposed to being in, their office or being out doing open houses. So in terms of the benefits of technology, if we could go a little bit deeper on, during this epidemic, what strong benefit do you see agents in Australia really, engrossing and getting on top of?
So I don't know what it's like in Ireland, but in Australia, the excuse for not adopting technology is I've just been too busy. I haven't had time to learn it, or I won't have time to learn it. So I don't want to pay for that subscription until this miraculous day in the future when, I've got, all this time to sit down and do nothing except learn that tech platform, which never comes. So what happened during COVID is that suddenly a whole lot of people were like, holy hell, like what do we, I can't, my day is no longer busy with open for inspections and running around and chasing it because the volume of listings dried up. Everyone was very scared of putting new properties onto the market. Our market dropped off in transaction terms by about 25 to 30%. So quite a big fall off, but our prices stayed really strong because of that lack of, volume in the market, and buyers were able to start to see a lot more properties through these tech solutions. So transactions kept happening and our prices have stayed quite firm. But what we found, what the gift of COVID was to the industry over here was time. So suddenly time and impetus, I guess, and focus. So I haven't had time to learn my CRM properly. I've been putting all of that off, but now I've got 3 girls sitting in my office who don't have, or not in my office, sitting at home, and I need to make sure that they're productive during this period. So what can I get them to do? So we found that from in Australia, CRM companies reported extraordinary uptake on webinars and inquiry around. So I've had this thing for 2 or 3 years. What can I do with it? Like, what else can I do with it apart from type names into a database? So an increase in understanding the functionality around that. What we also saw was an increased enthusiasm around that digital transaction. So I don't want to post anything out. You know, everyone's scared of getting something through the mail. They don't want me to drop anything around. Now I can't go and collect signatures. So an uptake in sort of digital signatures. And then because the gap between CRM and digital signatures, they could start to see that actually, oh, there's all this tech in the middle that could actually start to bring that together. So we saw then a kind of appreciation and better understanding of, oh, there's probably a lot of stuff going on here that could save me an absolute ton of time if I just slowed down a bit and learned it. And so what we've seen is that increased recognition that maybe taking a breath and learning how to do things differently has enormous plus side.
Yeah, it's a very, very, very great point. And an agent's trying to master a piece of tech can take, we were only talking about it yesterday, it can take from when the platform first hits a market 2 or 3 years for it to really be made perfect and fit for purpose. And, if the agent is an early adopter at a very infancy stage, 9 times out of 10, when the product's ready to go and perfect fit, it's not going to be ever perfect, but, serving its purpose. Those guys who have been through that transition will be the ones that are reaping the rewards. And I can see it today with the guys who are really jumping on board, have open arms to technology. In terms of the Proptech you see really working, and if we could go into a kind of a granular talking point on tools, let's talk about the tools and then maybe brush on the portals, and then talk about, let's say, the CRM system, because that's kind of the pack at the moment that a lot of agents would be using.
Yeah. Where do you want to start?
Let's start. Yeah, sorry, bit of a broad question. Let's start with the portals. What's your opinion on what's really working with the portals in Australia?
Well, the portals are highly controversial here in Australia because we only have two. Well, we have 2 main ones, and they run quite a monopoly kind of sort of business. Realestate.com is owned by News Corp. Domain.com was previously owned by Fairfax, and so the 2 media companies basically in Australia gave birth to those portals. We can see they are basically getting closer to the consumer, so including the agent, because the agents are highly lucrative market to them through advertising revenue. We run off advertising revenue, not necessarily off leads and listings like they do in the US. Although they are starting to include some of that transaction. So over the past year or so, both companies have made strategic acquisitions of Proptech that has either made it easier for agents to do certain things inside the portals which benefits the advertising, or which are trying to streamline the transaction to provide them with data sources or data streams that help them understand consumer journeys and pain points in the transaction better. Agents are very much, I think it's probably safe to say that agents are skeptical about some of the tech that they adopt.
Yeah. Similar to, like, there's 2 major portals in Ireland, so I can definitely.
They all use it. Yeah, they all use it, and and we have phenomenal viewership on our portals, but it's sort of a grudging I think, in the eyes of a lot of agents.
Okay, great. So let's move on to then tools. What tools are really working in Australia for agents?
Well, could we maybe start with CRM? Because one of the things
go ahead. Yeah, absolutely.
What we're seeing is sort of what I'm calling like the next generation of CRMs that are coming out, and they are databases that are not obsessed with just entering data. They're actually databases that recognize that your CRM is the kind of set your relationship heart in your business. And so it's not about doing what the new generation of CRMs are actually making it as easy as possible for agents to identify prospects, connect with people, assess how good a prospect they are, and then engage in activity that will nurture them as prospects, and by either usually plugging into additional tools that either the CRM company has built or that a third-party open API source stuff that can be quickly and easily kind of plug and played. And so in that space in Australia, we've seen, I think over the last 2 years especially, a real flourishing of these open source API tools that are kind of, integrating with each other. And that's really exciting and important, because it means that as a real estate agent and as a principal of a business, I can decide what level, like what my version of service is and what an amazing experience in property looks like for my customers. And then I can choose the technology that I believe will deliver that experience. I don't have to sort of pick a box and then go with what's in the box. I can actually, and that's really exciting for us over here, because it actually means that technology is becoming a leadership challenge more than it is becoming a technical challenge, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. That's a really great point. And it I think it will touch off a lot of agents that have picked up tools or picked up CRM systems, that don't have a lead generating side to it. And that brings us on to the next point of content marketing for agents and the process of automating, systems that can enable them to do a better job. And really make it relatable to how they do business. And that's a big shift in the market I can see at the moment. The likes of companies like Active Campaign, to do your mailers out and integrate them into the CRM. So how important is it in Australia for agents to automate processes like marketing campaigns or, let's say lead generating tools?
Look, it is extraordinarily important, although I think it's something that we're only starting as an industry to realize. And the reason why is because, technology's been around for a long time, and technology, if you're in your 30s, well, if you're in your 40s, and the profile of an Australian real estate principal is probably someone in their 40s or 50s or older. So they've come through from a technology space which has been about having a server under your desk and, floppy disks, and then, and then upgrade. And then suddenly over the last sort of couple of years, there's been this thing called the cloud, and now our tech's sort of truly following us everywhere. But our legacy experience with tech is that, well, you give it a try, but it probably won't work. And so, and in fact, I give it a try, and all it does is it gives me more work to do. Like, I become busier and busier the more tech. But in Australia, especially over the last couple of years, we're now turning the corner where the combination of cloud and mobile and the apps and the tools that are being developed for agents in that space is truly starting to give us our time back if we take the time to learn how to set it up properly at the start. And so what we're seeing with the CRM systems, like we were talking before, is that there are these tools that are plugging into them that are specialists in these particular jobs. So the CRM, so what we're moving away from is a generalist culture of, one program that does most things kind of okay, to platforms and products that actually do that are an inch wide and a mile deep. They do their thing amazingly well, and then they hand it off to, or they click into the platform that you're using and give that information to let the next step happen. There's another great there's been a piece of research done by Macquarie Bank over here. So Macquarie is one of the biggest real estate banking or banks in the country. They have a lot of real estate clients, and they've done a survey of over 750 agents in our market recently. And they have actually been able to capture the data that shows that the agents that adopt the technology and understand in their business the role of technology in streamlining processes and removing the really high cost of people doing things when machines could do them, they're more profitable, and in fact they're higher performers. So they are making more money, they're making higher revenue, they're making more money out of that revenue, their operating costs are a lot lower, and they have better run businesses. So we're seeing in Australia kind of a split between the top performers who are embracing technology and really using it to gun their business and go hard, versus the ones who are struggling to understand how it works and therefore also probably struggling in some of the business fundamentals in their business.
So the agent, so my observation of that would be the agent who's embracing it, you can have and early adopters now are going to be the ones that are most profitable 2 or 3 years down the line. Is that safe to say that? Yeah. But to touch off that point, agents who adopt technology and the piece of technology doesn't work or they're not satisfied with it, how would you address an agent that's maybe not satisfied with a piece of off the shelf technology? It's not adapted to them. They're not getting service. What would you say to them? Because I hear it day in, day out.
So I would ask, like, have they spent the time to work to learn it properly? And look, we're entering an era now where, like I was saying before, we're used to technology being hard, but technology now is easy. And Apple made that happen. Apple made technology beautiful, and it made it really, I don't need to learn anything, because if it's really clear to me and easy for me to understand which buttons I click in which order. And so all technology should be aiming. It's harder to make something beautiful and appear simple than it is to make something hard that, so if it's really hard, have you taken a bit of time out to learn it properly? Have you been really clear in what you wanted to get out of it? If the answer to all those questions is yes, I've tried really hard, yes, I've, given it a really good try, and it's not working for me, then move on, like get rid of it, but understand. But don't then reject all technology because you had one bad experience. Understand what you were trying to achieve from the technology, and then look for whoever's doing that better than that business.
Okay, and if there was one piece of advice to agents of the era you were touching on, what would it be? From what you've seen with the agents that have embraced it and that have really, taken strides ahead of those who haven't. What could you really say to those? Yeah,
so make time. So put some time into your week, even if it's just an hour and a half block over a lunch period, to learn something new about the tech that you've already got. So stop looking for the next shiny button that's going to change your world, and actually look at the technology that you've already got and find something that is that you just haven't had time to learn properly. We've all got and I'm bad at this too. I've got a million subscriptions that, I'm paying $30 a month or $70 a month. And we're all guilty of only probably using maybe 20% of the available functionality in it. One of the great lessons of COVID was suddenly we all actually worked out how to use Zoom properly. How many of us have had it, and it's like, oh yeah, I can sort of do, I think, oh look, it can record. So we all suddenly learned that we could, we learned how to do more from it just because we gave it a little bit of time. So the agents and the agencies that are absolutely smashing it are making that time and making their staff accountable for adopting or for practicing or learning or running projects around things. And they're not trying to they're not trying to boil the ocean, in 5 minutes. They're breaking it into smaller projects. And those projects can be, every Tuesday every Tuesday lunchtime, we're all going to grab when we're all back in the office again, or even if we're not, but we're going to make a time to run through a half-hour webinar or training session, or even just a YouTube video on how to do something. Or the marketing team are going to, every Tuesday or every Wednesday or whatever day, spend half an hour just in training time. To learn something self-managed training based on YouTube or whatever, to learn how to do digital targeting or something.
Yeah, that's a great point. I was only reading Jay Papasan's book on the one thing, and I was looking at, the domino effect of, what's the one thing I can do today that's going to make, everything easier or unnecessary. I think it's so suited for technology. If you just write, what's the one thing today or on the piece of tech equipment that I could do that's going to make my life so much easier? If you ask that question to yourself day in, I'm constantly asking multiple different areas, what I can improve on, how can the tool improve based on the feedback we're getting. And I think if agents just take it in bite-sized pieces, like different elements of the platform, or, giving feedback to, like, bridging the gap between the company and themselves and how they operate. I think that's a really interesting space right now, because both they're going to grow and the tech is going to grow, and we're going to have this great synergy between the two of us. And, just speaking from my own perspective of iPPi, we've built this on feedback, and we're constantly open to, no feedback is bad. And, in my opinion, we're constantly learning. It's an evolution of the more we get from the agent, the better the tech will be.
Yeah.
So, go ahead.
No, so, and look, and as an agent, if something isn't working, or if you're having a frustrating experience with a piece of tech and you're not sure whether it's you as a user, like, it doesn't matter. If you're having a frustrating experience with a piece of tech, the best thing you do is take a screen grab of it and send it to the company and say, this happened, should it happen? And then they can, rather than emailing them, say, your tech's stupid and it doesn't work. That's actually not helpful. If you take a screen grab of what's happened, we can usually then work, retro engineer, like what did they do? And we can either guide you into, okay, well, that's really great feedback for us, because, you're the third person to have had that experience this week, and either there's something technically wrong, or we haven't actually made it easy enough for people to understand that step. So we need to go back in and work on our UX. Yeah. So screen grabs are great. Do that.
Yeah, I've taken a lot myself. We've just completely kind of redesigned the iPPi platform, and a lot of screen grabs, a lot of corrections. But it's brilliant. Like, it's great that to have agents in Ireland who will come to us to say, like, this isn't working, or can you enable a different feature? We can put it then on the roadmap and constantly evolve. I think that's part of technology, and it's the curve that we want to carve out within the industry. So let's, in terms of content marketing, of that's how I saw your posts resonated with what we're trying to do. And obviously Australia's, I would see, is a pioneer of the Proptech field. What do you see a really good avenue for agents to explore for the marketing side?
Right. So agents need to become great digital marketers, and a great digital and really good digital marketers. Like, so over here in Australia today, really sad day, because I'm ex-media, but News Corp has announced 1,000 more journalist jobs going, because they're basically going to shut down all their rural and regional newspapers. So this idea of real estate agents advertising in local papers or in print is, has completely tipped off the cliff. That's really unlikely to occur much more going forward. So we should have been working on it, for the last 5 years, we've been telling agents, become a great digital marketer. And there's a lot of confusion around that because, well, does that mean I need to do social media? Does it mean I need to do an EDM? Does it mean, how does it work with all the stuff I'm already doing in traditional marketing? There's a lot to learn and there's a lot to master, and a lot of it is very, very technical. But if we think about if we think of it as an agent in the following ways, you need to be able to understand your funnel of clients. And agents have traditionally, with traditional marketing, only been worried about when someone looks at the window on the high street or gives them a phone call or turns up for an inspection, and that's when somebody is signaling to them or gives them a call to say, I want to sell my house, or can you come around and see me? But at that point, your clients have already they've already worked out that they've got a property need, and they've come to you to fix that property need. And what we're seeing now is that actually the funnel's sort of going up higher. And what you need to now do is have relationships with people before they even know that they're in the market for property. So you're actually, in real estate, the agent with the most relationships and the best quality relationships wins. And every time you sell a property, you should be putting two people in the bank. You should be basically putting the person whose property you just sold into your future business, to redo future business with you again when it comes for them to sell again. And the person who bought the property from you should also have had such a great experience buying that property that they when it comes time for them to sell that property, they also decide to use you as an agent.
Yeah.
What we see in Australia is that, especially because our agents focus on selling only, that buyers often have a very bad experience with the selling agent, and so there's no way in hell that they will ever use them. So it's all about. So what we're seeing with content marketing is about having a really great email structure in place that is able to not just talk to people who are in the market and send them an email with your current listings, but actually start to be using content around common questions that people have about property, providing data about the local market or insights about how the local market's performing, and sharing that on a less frequent but still regular basis. So, maybe a once a month or for landlords once every quarter, or even on key anniversaries for clients that you've sold to in the past, so that you've got touch points with them at key moments during the year. It takes a bit of planning. Again, it's about resource and making someone responsible for it and having them sit down and map it all out and then put that process in place. But once the process is in place, then it takes less effort you can start to automate it, and you can start to make the workflow a lot more transparent, or a lot easier. And then on the other side of that, so you've got your email marketing, but then you've also got social media marketing, and you need to be having sort of the same kind of funnel progression through social media, because there are going to be people hanging out on social that are not in your email list. And what you're looking to do is to capture people from social who meet the targeting identification that you've demographic persona that you've identified, yeah. And start them in your email list so that you can start to market to them, have a one-on-one conversation with them.
Brilliant. And finding a way for that to grow. I've just got we do a lot of newsletters, and I've noticed, and I'm kind of scoring it as to, right, what's the return from an email. Email is still a really powerful tool, and it constantly is growing organically. People want to know what's going on in the market, updates, properties of the week, down to new tools that might be working. And I think the more people that can start sharing that within the industry would be great. In terms of just socials, let's just touch on some of the mediums that are working: LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. Do you see any new pieces of tech that agents can, or not tech, sorry, platforms that agents can get on?
I'm not recommending TikTok.
Yeah, neither.
Look, I mean, look, I think there's so many. Look, in Australia, Facebook still dominates. We have a population of 26 million, and I think 23 million people of them are all on Facebook, or 22 million of them are on Facebook, and about 17 million of them are interested in property in some way, shape, or form. So that's one of the that is the kind of dominant platform over here for beautiful property photos. If you've got gorgeous, if you're taking a lot of time and energy and on doing fabulous photo shoots of properties, then you can build a passive audience of people who just adore country, Irish cottage kitchens or whatever whatever's really does it for them. And LinkedIn is good, especially in commercial, maybe because you can create that kind of professional link. But I think, again, if you're looking at going from a standing start into social, and all you've done is sort of muck around on Facebook a bit personally, what you need to do is break it into small parts and do one small thing and do that regularly and get in the habit of it, and then start to grow it, not try and do all the platforms all the time, from day one, because creating some small wins is probably the best way to get into a new habit around it.
Yeah, Perry Power touched on that on 2 episodes ago about going deep on one.
Yeah.
Going deep on one, getting really into it. Once you've mastered it, you can then have more time to go on to the next. The last question, I'm not going to take any more of your time. I know your family are home. What prop tech is really working in Australia at the moment?
There's lots of prop tech that's really working in Australia.
Okay, let's say
I'm
3 pieces.
So the most successful ones in Australia at the moment would be iPPi, which does email marketing. So it's like MailChimp for real estate agents and is connected to your CRM, pulls through all of your property listings and feeds of information to make it easy for you to create those EDMs and target them really quickly. I would then say Box Brownie, who are just genius at making good photos amazing and making rubbish photos completely presentable for agents at a price per. You just send the photos that you want done. That's not a subscription. It's a price per photo. And it's really affordable. It's like $5 a photo or something. It's silly. And then my third one would be really lovely little prop tech that's still fairly new, but it's called AIRE. And so Rita, AIRE has a bot called Rita, and she is a digital employee. And so she does all of the admin work in the background to basically any inquiries that come into the office, she washes them against the CRM, puts them against the known data universe, scores them for propensity, and then basically sends text messages to the agents in the agency to say, today, instead of trying to call 20 people, you need to call these 3 people, and you need to talk to Mary about this. She's got a property in Coogee, and it's worth $520,000, and she's been living there for 15 years, so we know that she might be ready to move. And you need to speak to John about this, about an investment property, and you need to speak to Michael and Joe about selling their 4-bedroom family home. And so she is able to really direct and support and do a lot of time-consuming tasks that humans just do not do well.
Wow,
but she won't make the phone call. That has to be done by it's about doing that dreary work in the background to make the human stuff much more enjoyable and easy for agents, and to take them away from all of that busy work so that they can actually focus on the relationship.
Brilliant, because the relationship's at the heart of it at the end of the day, and it's the cold calling still needs to be done. Agents are great at building relationships, but technology is just going to enable them to have more conversations. Kylie, thank you very much for your time. I don't want to take any more of your time today. I really appreciate it. I know it's getting late over there. Guys, I'm going to put Kylie's details below. Kylie, if you're happy for the guys reaching out or, you know, dropping you a message, just let me know.
Absolutely.
And please tune in next week for another episode of the iPPi Insider. Kylie, thanks very much, and I will speak to you soon.
Thanks for having me, Kenneth. See ya. Thanks.
Bye-bye.